Hey, it's Becky here. I wanted to do a little short video to kind of talk about grade placement, if you will, age appropriate placement in school. You know, a lot of our ASPE kids, the school districts are going to pressure you to put them in the class that's the same age as their peers, or even move them ahead because they're so bright. And in the early years of school, that might work out okay. But as they get older, we find the gap gets bigger and bigger socially. And that's the hardest part for our kids. And then when you think about things like in upper elementary school, when we have to take the author's perspective, but maybe developmentally we're 2 or 3 years behind our peers. So, you know, your academic intellectual development can be at one place, but your social IQ, if you will, can be somewhere else. And the problem with that is that if I have a serious delay in that area, I may not be able to do and take the perspective taking that's required to do the academics. And I'm certainly not going to have that perspective to be able to keep up with my peers socially. And that's just going to keep getting wider. And I think it very much affects our kids' classwork and schoolwork when you're finding that just keeps getting bigger. My recommendation is, and I know I hear parents right now going, but they're bored. Hold them back. Don't let them start kindergarten until they're 6. Give them a chance to play. There's so much learning that happens with playing. And just give them a chance to grow. Let them be bored in school. It's okay. You know what? Ask for extra work. Get them tested for gifted. Find other avenues to stimulate their brain. But give them a chance to be socially at their developmental age. Just think through that when you're, placing your kiddos. Honestly, our kiddos that attend our preschool and in our early childhood programs, I beg parents, let us keep them till they're 6, with the goal being, if they're only going to get 1 or 2 years to be with their typical peers, let us get them ready for that so they can have those opportunities and that they can at least have the appropriate classroom behaviors to go and attend in the mainstream. Because let's be honest, that's what the mainstream is about a lot of times. As long as our kids behave the way they're supposed to behave, like their typical peers, not every classroom teacher minds that they're not doing age appropriate work. As long as they do work in there with their peers, that's really important. That's where they're going to learn typical behaviors. That's where they're going to make friends with typical peers. Hopefully down the road, as they get bigger, these peers are going to have a relationship with them and are going to stop bullying. Maybe as adults, they're going to hire them. They're going to be their friends and hopefully go out with them and invite them to parties and invite them to other situations. Maybe they'll even pick them up and go take them for a burger somewhere. So certainly keeping your kiddo back a year or 2 is not going to be the end or the solution to all of our problems, but it gives them a chance to be with peers that are developmentally the same age as them. So this was just my short little public announcement for tonight that I've just really been thinking about, and I just really want families to consider all of these things. You know, when our kids have some intellectual delays, it's not really a very hard thought to keep them back a little bit. Let's get them the extra time. But for our high functioning autistic students who have really high IQs, who appear to be very typical, that's when it gets to be more difficult, is making that decision, because they might be bored in class, but I think that there's a lot more opportunities to grow socially, which is going to affect them in the long haul. And the other part, I would say, not a blanket statement, but I'm going to say on average, I ask parents to keep their kids in school till 2021. So, most high school kids graduate at 17 or 18 years old, and the goal is they're going to go to college, they're going to go to trade school, they're going to get a job. One of the above. the issue that I find with our students, especially our intellectually average to high functioning students, is they're not ready for the social expectations that come with going to college, the self management that's involved with that, the self advocacy that's really important. You know what? Guess what? When you leave high school, they no longer care who your parents are. And unless you have guardianship or power of attorney, they're not going to talk to you. And even when you have those things, they want to talk to your kids first. It's just the nature of the beast. If you can find a post high school program that is still within the school district, let them go learn a trade. Even if you want your kids to go to college and they want to go to college, go let them learn a trade. It's not going to hurt them. A lot of the trade schools I find teach about professionalism. See if there's a dual enrollment program. Can they start taking some college classes while still in high school? That's going to give you a really good idea. My son failed 2 semesters in a row. Now, we withdrew him from the classes before he failed, but it was while he was still in high school, and it made us go, you know what? He is not ready for the autonomy and the responsibility that comes with being a college student. And at 22, he's thriving in college. He's at our local community college. He cares a lot about his grades. He keeps up on when assignments are due. It's amazing. At 17 and 18, when we first put him in these classes, he couldn't do it. If there's not a post-secondary like trade school type program, talk to your school district and see, even if they go half a day, can they take electives? Are there any career development classes? I don't even know how you get a foot in the door anymore with jobs because it's almost all electronic with applications. But if you do get that phone call, you want somebody to have practiced interviewing skills with our kiddos, right? I mean, as much as we can, they need to practice these things. And then when you get the job, how do you deal with conflict? And that has to happen a lot of times with typical kiddos. You know, I'm not opposed to secondary programs that are under the special ed department. They do some wonderful things, but our kids who are going to be in the workforce need to learn how to work with their typical peers. They need to be able to advocate for themselves. They need to be able to just request the basic needs of things. Like my son was on the schedule for 1 day a week for several weeks. And I said, have you asked anybody at work why you're only being scheduled 1 day a week? He was just accepting that was his fate. You know, they were only scheduling him 1 day a week. And I wanted to know, are you not doing something right? Are you not showing up on time? You know, are they just overstaffed right now? What's the big deal? Those kind of questions didn't occur to him at all to ask. So those are important. And again, just navigating social relationships that happen at work is really important. Also, as we're looking at that transition time, if you don't know, you can start getting DVR services, the Division of Vocational Rehab, at 14. You can invite them to your child's 504 or their IEP. Start to form that relationship. I'm going to tell you, every state's different, every county's different. It almost feels like every counselor is different, which should not be the case. It's a federal program, but it is. You can tell I'm a little frustrated with some of the programs, and we've lived in different states and we've had different experiences everywhere. So those are just some things we want to talk about when we're looking at development. And next time I come on, I'm probably going to talk a little bit more about transition to adulthood. And if there's topics that you want to hear about and you're interested in some of my experience with my son and as a behavior analyst, as an entrepreneur, just let me know and I'll talk about those topics. All right, signing off. Good night.